books that Murrow had published in the 1950s and which had been immensely popular, best-selling books. One of them outsold everything but the Bible in 1952.
And her essay appears in the new book, This I Believe on Love. Welcome, these sons, to stop and consider that. She teaches at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism, is the author of several nonfiction books, a journalist for more than 32 years. She leads writing workshops around the country and speaks on issues related to media and women. And her essay appears in the forthcoming publication, This I Believe on Fatherhood, which is due out in May of 2012. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Would you care to plunge right in and give us?
Well, I just want to say I'm thrilled to be in this audience because as a professor, mostly it's 18-year-olds I look out on, and they don't get any of my jokes. My late father was a prince of a man, unapologetic for deceiving all 6 of his children into believing each one was his favorite. I expected nothing less for my 3 sons than to be adored by their father. This was not to be. My former husband's disappearance played out incrementally over the last 15 years since our divorce. Now it's complete. He's vanished. A phantom parent living overseas for 7 years, he has no contact with the boys, now aged 22, 19, and 16. Over time, my fury about the paternal loss has cooled. The anger that once felt flammable has been replaced by a sense of gratitude to a number of gentle and forthright men who willingly elect to take part in the lives of my boys. I believe a father is born from many strangers. My oldest son, Weldon, had 2 English teachers who guided him in his pinballing emotions through middle and high school. But it is his beloved wrestling coach who has been his fervent mentor and life guide. Between push-ups and takedowns, Coach Mike Powell offered my son his heart and earned his trust, a gift he is beyond reluctant to share. Now in his last year of college, my son still calls Coach Powell with good news before he calls me. For Brendan, my middle son, there's not only the same wrestling coach, but a cast of uncles whom he respects, admires, and emulates. He will listen to my brother Paul when my words are no longer heard. It's Uncle Mike, my sister's husband, who helps him with his chemistry and takes him on long walks. For a time, his Uncle Mark, their father's brother, appeared at tournaments and football games to cheer for each nephew. My youngest son, Colin, found a youth football coach he imitates and respects. I want Coach Tim to be my dad, he announced mid-season in 7th grade. Then I explained that his coach had his own family. He countered Tim was exactly the kind of man he would want as a father. Funny, affectionate, tough, and in possession of his own Super Bowl ring. But now my youngest son is wrestling in high school as well, and Coach Powell has again moved to the dominant spot of influence. It's not just teachers, coaches, and uncles who populate this volunteer father club, but also men like the friend who quietly left a $50 bill in the pocket of the blue cashmere overcoat he lent Weldon for a formal dance. As their mother, working tirelessly to answer their needs, I frequently feel overwhelmed with what I must do to ensure I raise these men well. I am charged with lassoing their strong wills so they can know success without being derailed by youthful mistakes. Relief from my panic arrives with every gesture of goodwill from these generous souls. No one fills the shoes of a father. But the footprint that the man who fathered them left behind does not have to stay empty. I find it a profound act of selflessness that each of these men deliberately chose my sons, and a blessing beyond measure that my sons have chosen them. In some ways, this is my boys' declaration of independence from abandonment. These good men, who are not required to care, but do, convince my sons they are so worthy of being loved.
First of all, I understand why you lead writing workshops.
Yeah.
Sign me up. But, and the other thing, and I read this afternoon, the first thing I did was text both of my daughters. Set up some lunches, bowling. Three sons alone, come on. That is remarkable resiliency.
Well, thank you. And I don't get much sleep, but I do have a strong support group, you know, in my family and friends, and honestly, in the sport that's brought great support.
Keep them busy.
Keep them busy.
You must have discussed this with them before you did this, and it's very personal to them.
Well, I've been writing since, before they were born, and writing personal essays for newspapers and magazines their entire lives, so they're kind of bored with it, I think.
How do you raise three sons alone, without having been one, or having someone in the house who was?
I'm tougher than I look, first of all. And as I said, I get a lot of support, and I do, and this is a proper place to confess it, I do pray a lot. I feel that grace arrives in forms of different opportunities and people who appear in your life to help, and I don't feel that I really do it alone. I feel that I have a great group of friends and mentors and people who really do love my sons deeply and want to see them succeed.
Do you ever think about what kind of fathers your sons will be?
I know what kind of fathers they won't be. And I mean that, because having been on the receiving end of less than what they should have, they speak quite openly about what their intentions are. And they're surrounded by a cadre of good men who they can emulate and imitate.
Well, not only thank you, but congratulations. Michelle, welcome.
That was awesome.
You're awesome. That was okay.
A lot of things.
There's no little Colin.
Little Colin.
Sort of.